Converting to Islam a few years ago really opened my eyes to just how unique and diverse the Muslim community is. Every single individual I've met with has such a colorful and special and unique story to tell about their relationship with God and their own spirituality. And while we all are connected through our love of God, I think it's really intriguing to find out some of these stories and to see what makes us so unique and different. So I'm here to explore what it means being Muslim. We are going to be looking at the rise in Muslim dating apps and why more and more young people are turning towards these apps to find their spouses. I think there is a real problem with finding your spouse the halal way, and I think it's interesting that a lot of people are turning towards apps and websites to find them instead of going towards the masjid or getting your parents to matchmake for you. So I'm excited to find out why people are using these apps and whether or not it really is halal or not. So today we're in Essex and we're meeting with Yusuf, who has successfully found a spouse off one of these websites. He's used a lot of different websites, so I think it'll be interesting to know why some of them worked, why some of them didn't work, and why he ended up going with the one that he did.
The main ones that stood out was SingleMuslim.com. What I was finding is every time I would search for a girl and message her, response could be delayed, conversation not flowing. So it was these kind of, generally it was these kind of problems that I was having on these websites. Maybe because they're so big.
So Muslim dating, or Muslim halal dating, has been used a lot. So what do you think that that's a legitimate term? Do you think it makes sense in and of itself? And how would you define that process that Muslims do go through before marriage?
Dating is simply a label.
So there's nothing wrong in calling it dating before marriage, do you think, if you have the right intention?
100% no, 100%. So with my experience, I went for dinner with my wife in a public place, just the two of us talking, and we was getting to know each other. Some people will look at that as two non-mahrams getting to know each other and would classify that as forbidden. Fair enough, that's their point of view. What it comes down to is your intention, your sincerity, what your purpose of that meeting is. If you want to get to know someone with like 10 uncles sitting next to you, that's not going to work out because you've got a filter, that girl has a filter, you'll behave in a certain way, she will behave in a certain way. When you've got 10 uncles looking at you, you're not going to be yourself, and that's very awkward and uncomfortable. The one problem I was having is that, from my experience, once you exchange emails, in this day and age, a lot of people are comfortable sitting behind the screen and emailing you and texting you. People are comfortable to talk for months and months on WhatsApp, on social media, through a screen where messages are very much distorted. I can say one thing but interpret it in a different way. You will never get to know someone through a screen. You have to have face-to-face interaction. I would say break that barrier, break that taboo, sign up firstly, and then take it from there. You got nothing to lose. If anything, you got something to gain.
So we just finished meeting up with Yusuf, and mashallah, he had a very successful story about how he met his spouse. I think one point he brought up that was very interesting was that it shouldn't be so frowned upon to actually meet face to face and to maybe even go on a date or to go on a coffee date or a dinner date. As long as your intention at the end of the day is to find a good spouse for marriage, it shouldn't be so frowned upon in the community. Next, I'm talking to Abbas and Shaheen Morali, who would be commonly labeled as traditional community matchmakers. I'm here to find out why they do what they do and what kind of backlashes they've faced, if any. I personally don't come from a background where traditional community matchmakers are common, so I'm really curious to know what kind of experiences they faced. There's a huge popularity in these Muslim kind of dating apps, How do you feel about that then? Because that is basically, a young girl and a young boy just meeting online through an app.
The only thing I'd say about when you're using this option is to really ensure that you come across as a person.
Okay. And not just a picture.
And not just a picture, because the marriage, if you really step back and look at what marriage is, it's an emotional connection of two people. Then the physical connection develops at a much deeper rate. I think the only downside, I think, maybe with apps is the primary reason to go for that person will be the physical connection rather than emotional connection. So if you can manage your profile, where the picture's okay, but that's not your main focus, but you've really brought out who you are, and you don't just, you've almost padded out 2 pages to describe who you are, rather than a small paragraph to say, I love sailing, rock climbing, and I love adventure.
Often the most successful matches that have been made are when people know each other, and you get a sense of, what they like and what they dislike, and just whether their personalities will get along. For example, if you know someone who is adventurous and fun-loving, and you think, oh, you know what, actually, I haven't thought about it before, but now that they've asked, somebody I know might actually be really suitable. And we've always found that the people who know each other, or who know someone who knows someone, have a much more likely chance of it working out, rather than random, a paragraph sent in, or even a conversation had on the phone. It just makes a big difference.
How do you keep it halal, I guess, throughout the whole process? So
That's a really good question, especially now with WhatsApp.
And I guess, how do you define halal kind of matchmaking or halal dating, if you even want to use that word, before the marriage?
The general rule of thumb is your intention. So if you are, sincerely trying to find out about someone for the sake of getting to know them for marriage, then you can speak about certain topics. And we say the moment you feel like you're just bantering, or, it's gotten to the stage where you're very comfortable with each other to make personal comments and things like that, then chances are either you're ready for the next step and getting, formalize it, or you say, no, this is not the right person for me.
So I think the easiest way of now doing it, and I think this way WhatsApp is probably helping. If the boy's interested and the girl's interested, form a 3-way WhatsApp group. Introduce Hassan meet Fatima, Fatima meet Hassan. All the best. I'm going to drop out of this group, and then let me know how it goes, and wish you all the best. And then it's there, and it's very clear there that please keep your parents informed as to how it's going, and the boundaries in which.
And that we're always here if they need any questions.
I think the hardest thing we find in this is when people are reaching out to us, and there seems to be a ratio, or anecdotally, that there are more girls than there are guys, and especially when the girls are getting of a certain age. And I think that's what really is a tough thing, a tough area, where it's almost easier to say, look, if you're over a certain age, I'm genuinely, I don't want to take a phone call and then leave you hanging, and then they wonder, but why aren't you getting back to me? And I think that is the hardest.
Because traditionally, the guy looks for the girl and proposes, etc., etc. But one thing we do say to the women in the community is that if you have seen someone, wherever you may have seen, then approach us as well. Like, there is nothing wrong with that. And if that is an issue, then we can do things to make it seem like it hasn't come from you per se. But I think that's one of the reasons it may have gotten to this point, because there is this level of taboo or shame or whatever, that how can I be the one to admit I'm looking, or to go out and say I'm looking. But there is no need for that.
Next, I'm meeting up with Farzana, a single Muslim woman who's actively using these Muslim matrimonial sites. She's here to tell me what it's really like using these sites, both the good and the bad experiences. I'm really curious to know what it's like as a single woman living alone in London, and whether or not these sites really are useful. I started off first speaking to my family about the fact that I'm ready to look for a spouse. But because families are so geographically spread, they didn't have any real connections to kind of talk about, my daughter's available for marriage. Do you know anybody or anyone who's potential? So when I once saw an advert for single Muslims, I thought, hey, maybe this is one avenue to try. Why do you feel uncomfortable maybe going to the masjid or going to community matchmakers? Is that not... Community matchmaker, I did try one. It was a very weird setup. So it was a WhatsApp group, and I was bombarded
with aunties basically looking for somebody, and they would ring me up at random times during the day, just asking me random questions. And I just thought, okay, this is getting a bit creepy. And also the questions they were asking, I felt like they were your privacy is not there, basically. Sometimes when you're messaging or talking on the phone, what you see in front of you is someone totally different to what you thought they were. So there was one guy in particular who I was getting along with really well over the phone, text messages and everything. And then when I met up with him, he was actually quite honest with me, but he actually turned around and said, listen, you're a really nice girl and stuff, but I'm going to be totally honest with you. I can't lie to you. I need a passport. I'm in UK, I should have actually left the country by now, and I need to marry somebody in order to stay in UK. So I was like, well, the fact that you've just told me that, A, thank you very much for being honest. B, no thank you. I'm not going to be the route for you to come into UK. Some extreme situations where guys have sent pornography.
Really? On the actual site or
no,
after?
Afterwards. So we'd talk really well on the site, because on the site you can't send pictures or anything. You only have your profile picture. Okay. But you can you have messaging, inbox messaging and stuff. So we'd basically be messaging for a week or so on there, and then move on to phone calls. It's only when they receive my number that's when sometimes some things kind of seep in. So you'll get the odd messages first, and then you kind of stop them, listen, I'm not comfortable with this.
Do you have any advice, I guess, for other single Muslims who are using these apps?
My advice would be, by all means, if you're running out of the traditional options, it's not bad to use these sites. I feel it's just another avenue to kind of look, to go through. And so many people are online these days, or on social media, etc. There's nothing wrong with being on these sites. The only thing is just make sure you're safe, and that you're not falling for people too quickly, or becoming trapped into any gushy, lovey-dovey words right at the beginning, because surely that is a sign that if they're clinging on too quick, something is not right. If it's too good, it must be not true.
Today we're in Wakefield, all the way up north in Yorkshire, and we're meeting with the CEO of SingleMuslims.com, Adim Yunus. And I'm really excited to find out why he started this website, how he's seen it grow over these past almost 18 years, and how he defines Muslim dating. So let's go and talk to him now. I'm curious about your background a bit, and what certain things you think in your previous life before the start of Single Muslims that led you to this, do you think?
So I think for me, the big challenge, and I see it not just as my personal challenge, but as a challenge of a generation, was trying to find somebody who's suitable and compatible. We set up in 2000, and at that time there was a lot of people who were having forced marriages, who were having arranged marriages, who were having marriages that they weren't happy with from back home through the Asian subcontinent or Africa. Everybody seemed to have the same challenge in terms of finding somebody who's suitable and compatible. And in Islamic societies and kind of weddings and other kind of cultural events, there was a big screen of brothers on one side and sisters on the other side. And there's nothing wrong with that, and it's very respectful, and it's good to kind of have that, and there's cultural sensitivities around why we have that as well. However, when it comes to finding somebody that maybe they'll be in the same space as you, but they'll just be behind a screen, how do you connect? But how do you connect on the basis of Islam, and how do you connect on the basis of serious long-term marriage, and not just something that's frivolous and kind of short-termism? And I guess that's where Single Muslim was born, to have a platform to give a solution. It's a simple solution to quite a complex problem. I remember once Sheikh Hamza Yusuf came to Bradford, and the mosque was absolutely just jam-packed, and you just couldn't get into the mosque or the car park. And again, we took the opportunity to, grill a market outside after the event was over. People were leaving. We'd handed leaflets myself and a few friends. And this one big, tall, kind of warrior-looking chap came up to my friend and he said, "Is this your website?" And my friend looked up to him and he says, "No, it's his." So he came over to me and I thought, "Oh my God, I'm just gonna get a real good hide in here. Just get ready, get ready for a beating." And the brother just gave me a huge big hug, like a massive big bear hug, and he said, "Jazakallah khair, thank you so much. Because of you and your website, I've managed to find a wife, and I'm now happily married."
Really?
And I was like, "Oh my God!" And it was just, alhamdulillah.
How do you define dating then how do you define Muslim halal dating? Because I know that term has been used a lot. So how would you define that?
So dating is what people make of it, but we've not used that terminology dating because, again, dating in the Muslim space is seen as very frivolous, very short term, hot day or one night stand, that type of thing. I think for Muslims, it's not about that. For Muslims, it's not about swiping. It's not about kind of just going and seeing people on the surface level. Islam is about kind of long-term relationship as a marriage, but not even a marriage that is in this world, but marriage in Islam is eternity. So it's very, very serious. And again, like I said, it's half of your faith. So it's not a case of just seeing somebody and being attracted to them. Attraction is important, but compatibility on a level where you're compatible to somebody because you two are compatible with each other, but also your family, your extended kind of network, what you do, your hobbies, your interests. That whole has to be compatible.
That process, though, before the marriage,
yeah.
Would you not consider that dating? And if not, then how would people keep it halal, I guess, before they actually do get married?
So Islam teaches how to do that. Absolutely. So that's not my process. That's an Islamic process. So in terms of making sure that it's transactional, making sure that you don't get emotionally attached to that person, just treating it like a business interview, just treating like a CV. You see somebody's CV, you engage with them, you engage with references. You meet in a public place, you get parental involvement on both sides.
And I guess finally, maybe, what is your advice for people who are just starting out on this journey, who just created a profile? What is your advice for them to navigate through this?
I think a lot of people, maybe they're used to the Amazon next day delivery, click and somebody will drop in or their product will drop in the next day. I think you have to be patient. Yeah. You have to be patient. You have to check your niyyah, you have to check your intention. And don't lose hope, and remember that searching for and the journey to anything good is also ibadah, is also worship. So your journey to success, your journey to finding success, your journey to finding marriage is also worship. So do it in the best way and do it with the right intention, and you not only be complete in your faith when you get married, you'll be worshiping, and you'll be getting the reward for searching to complete your faith all the way to when you're getting married.
So I just met with Adim, and I thought we had a really interesting conversation, and he brought up the point that at the end of the day, his website is about marriage, and that they're not trying to change a religion that already has the path towards marriage and finding the spouse for us Muslims, and that at the end of the day, although it is easy to get distracted by a lot of different apps and maybe competitors and using online facilities, as long as we go in it with the right intention, these apps are just there using new technology to find the perfect spouse. So now I'm going to go meet with a couple who have successfully married after using SingleMuslim.com, and I'm really excited to know how they define halal dating, if they were nervous using the app or website, and how they explain this to their friends and family, and what their marriage is like now.
And he didn't have a profile picture. So I feel really bad saying this now, but I remember replying to his message saying, "Assalamu alaikum, can you reply when you have a profile picture up?"
Straight to the point.
Yeah. But he was so polite that I was very taken aback. He was so, I could tell this guy has very good character.
Yeah. Well, Allah knows best. Before we even met, it was I met her uncle, I met her brother, I met her mother. So it was like, you know, I tried to keep it that I'm meeting the people who are responsible for her before we even met. So it was we tried to. I think it depends how you use it as well, because people can misuse anything. So yeah.
What was the main reason why you guys started using these online websites for Muslim marriages? Was it friends that recommended it? Was it family? Was it kind of out of desperation almost? Or what led to you using it?
Oh, for me, it was a friend of mine had used it and he had found success. So he recommended it to me, and I was not. I was a bit apprehensive at first, but then I thought, yeah, why not? Let me give it a try and see.
So why didn't you two specifically go down, or maybe you did, but did you go down the kind of traditional route of maybe community matchmakers? Or?
I'm from a non-Muslim family. All my family are non-Muslim. I'm the only one in my family who's Muslim. So, you know, they don't understand this concept of marriage. I can't go to my family and say, look, I'm going to get married. Can you? No, it doesn't work like that. So it's difficult. The masajid around, sometimes they don't really have that service, you know, and I did go to a few masajid around as well. But yeah, just this, I thought, okay, if I go on something like this, I can ask specifically, you do there's like a filter process. You can put things on that you want. Okay, it has to be like a certain, so. But
you were laughing a bit when you said you went through the masjid. Is that, I mean, why didn't that work?
So, I don't want to name any particular messages around, but you know, it wasn't. It's like it was met with more negativity than positivity. It's like, no, so we don't do the service here. Like we can go. Wow. Yeah.
So what is your definition? Because I know the term, you know, Muslim dating or Muslim halal dating is being thrown around a lot. Do you guys have a definition of that? Or do you agree with the term?
When people say Muslim dating, because I've heard this before as well, it can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. So some people would say, oh, she's just dating, as in actually meeting lots of different people. But it's actually just dating. It's not really Muslim dating. Whereas Muslim dating, I would say, is involving your family. Okay. Even then, I wouldn't... I really don't like the term.
I don't agree with the term.
I don't.
Dating, because dating is something other than, you know, looking to get married. You're looking to get married, so you're finding someone who has, you know, that you feel that you can be compatible with, without that, you know, we're gonna date for a year or two and see how it goes, start living together, and there's none of this. There's none of this stuff. It's we want to get married. That's the first thing that we want to do. And we take it from there. But initially, what if we do feel that we're compatible? Then then we will get married, and then that's the journey from that point. It's not 2 years of you know whatever happens. I don't know.
So then, how do we keep it halal? I guess if you do find someone that you're attracted to or that you're really excited to get married to, do you have advice, or what did you do personally?
The first thing is involve your family. Because you need to get advice from other people as well. Especially as a woman, I would say, because you're in a vulnerable position and you're speaking to someone that you haven't met before. You probably haven't met before, so you need to get a second opinion from the people that care about you, because anything can happen.
So I think after meeting with all these people, it is important to get a scholarly view on this matter, and I think it's important to also understand that there is a religious aspect to finding a spouse in marriage. So today we're in Birmingham, and I'm here to speak to a scholar on his views on whether these Muslim matrimonial websites really are halal or not, and with what intentions we all should be having when going into using these. So the word Muslim dating or Muslim halal dating is used quite often. So what is your view on that?
My take on this will be people should consider it with a pinch of salt, you know. My advice will be very simple advice, not very complicated one. We are Muslims. And not just Muslims, the lovers and followers of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He taught us practical steps on how to go about choosing our wives or our husbands. And I believe strongly, if I and you will go by the teachings of the Holy Prophet, we should be able to find the best partner for our lives. First and foremost step is intention. Intention is very, very important in whatever we do in life. And Prophet makes it very clear. Whoever intend good when he starts thinking of getting married, God Almighty will make it easier for him. That's number one. 2, prayers, supplication. Don't ever think that you'll be able to do it alone without divine intervention. You need God's intervention. Number 3, which is very, very, very important, are the attributes and the qualities of the one you are intending to get married with. Character and the behavior and the manners of the person is very, very important. The next one, when it comes to attributes, is the environment within which the person is coming from. What sort of environment the person is coming from? That is also a very good point for us to consider in choosing our spouses. Look at the environment within which the person is living or coming from. So you can look at his friend cycle, you can look at his family, if you want to do. These are also very, very important. And the next one, which is also of great importance, which of course the Holy Prophet of Islam mentioned, is the faith of that person. Faith is very, very important, because Prophet mentioned, if you go for someone who is faithful, who has religion, that person will not do injustice to you, even if you are at fault.
As you mentioned, I guess it can get easy
Yeah.
to just kind of look at pictures and go through
Yeah,
them, you know.
that's
but
not good.
And that can get a bit kind of just like your grocery shopping.
Yeah.
So how important do you think is the concept of love? Should it be easy or should it be difficult?
Love, my dear, is about perfection. And it's a process. It doesn't just build overnight. The first part of happiness you have when you see someone, that's not love. That will come later. It's a process. And that is why, if you look at Quran chapter Rome, verse 21, God makes it very clear. He said, I put between a husband and wife mawadda and rahma. Mawadda, simple translation, love. And rahma, mercy. Why mawadda? Because it's two-sided. It's different from mahabba or hubba. Hubba is one-sided, like a rahma. You commit, I don't commit, but you there. But love, no, it's two-sided. You are perfecting me, I am perfecting you.
So I think what I've learned going through this process of meeting with different people and talking to Sheikh Nuru is that there's no right way to find a spouse. There's no right way to get married. There are certain steps that you should take towards finding the right spouse, and you do need to go into it with the right intention. I think remembering God throughout the entire process is extremely important. But I think it doesn't matter if you do use these websites, if you do use these apps, or if you go down traditional ways or go to the masjid, as long as you're open to the idea of finding a spouse and that you're not in it for experiencing the dating culture, inshallah, that is the way forward. And I think it doesn't matter how you go about it, as long as you go about it with the right intentions.